Careen Chepchumba was a 26-year-old vivacious young Kenyan who worked for Kenya Power in Nairobi. On Sunday, February 12, 2012, her brother Emmanuel Kipto dropped her off at her upscale apartment in Santonia Court, a gated community in the posh Nairobi Kilimani neighborhood. The following day, Monday, Emmanuel's knocking on her apartment door. To his surprise, the door was open, and so he entered, noticing two things. First, that Careen's sandals were at the door, suggesting that she was home. And second, two used wine glasses were in the kitchen sink as he went past. Music was playing, but Careen was in bed with her laptop at the bedside. Emmanuel said that he thought she was sleeping, and it seemed that he would have to check to be sure whether she was okay. Given an unlocked door, two wine glasses, and so on. In that circumstance, many would have felt that something was wrong. Emmanuel returned to the car where his mother was waiting, and they went back to Careen's apartment together. Emmanuel's mother started opening some windows because the room was stuffy, and she went to Careen's bedroom shortly, which Emmanuel heard his mother screaming as she realized Careen was dead. Her autopsy would show that the death was due to lack of oxygen due to manual strangulation. The pathologist reported that considerable force exerted on Careen's throat had caused hemorrhage from her eyes into her neck muscles. In considering possible motive, attention turned immediately to a man called Otieno. This was no ordinary person. Otieno was one of KTN's most successful and high-profile TV anchors, known for his eloquence and hard-hitting interviews. However, a dark reputation haunted Otieno. Media reported his love of a lavish lifestyle with fancy cars, spending sprees, alcohol, and glamorous women. If this was the case, then it was a familiar story of becoming too rich, too young, and then foolishly squandering one's earnings. I wasn't able to put Otieno's meeting Careen on an exact timeline in relation to financial woes, but certainly by late 2011, Otieno was in a serious trouble and was turning to Careen for help to support him. She borrowed heavily from family and business partners to the tune of 4.2 million Kenyan shillings, some of these money which she obtained under pretext suggesting Otieno was heavily pressuring her to obtain the cash. What was all that money for? Answering that question was the purpose of Careen's father calling an emergency family meeting on Sunday, February 12, 2012, in which Careen admitted to the family that she had been paying Otieno's rent, medical bills, and his children's school fees. Otieno had two children from a first marriage. Careen was also paying for Otieno's expensive stays in cigars. The February 12th meeting, at which Careen agreed to drastic measures to pay back the money she owed, must have marked the pinnacle of the crisis which Otieno, because the police reported that on February 6, Careen had written a note to her father expressing remorse for having entered into a relationship with Otieno. She also apparently wrote or started to write a note to her father on February 12, but for some reason she tore it up and put it in her bedroom trash bin. Was Careen a case of a young, smitten woman falling in love into a relationship with a celebrity only to realize too late that she was trapped in a hornet's nest? Evidently, events took such a horribly wrong turn that Careen, just before she was murdered, had been about to file an extortion claim with the police and get a restraining order for Otieno not to visit or call her. It had taken a while to realize how much she had been used by Otieno, but she was seeing it now. Careen was pulling away from her lover just before her death. From Otieno's viewpoint, perhaps it was a case of, if I can't have you, no one else will. A strong motive for murder. The inquest into Careen's death was incredibly delayed for 4 years. At the inquest, the judge ruled that the police had bungled the case, making it impossible to make an arrest. It appears that DNA testing of possible suspects was never done. The chief government pathologist Moses Njoe thought Careen might have been sexually assaulted by the assailant and took samples for further analysis, but they were never seen in the report. Moses Njoe said the samples were supposedly handed over to the detective at Kilimani police station, but no one seemed to know what happened to the samples after that. A suicide note was found beside her in which she used as an apologetic tone and referred to a man who was so horrible, so manipulative, and that he was a predator who takes advantage of the innocent and vulnerable. The inquest had that Miss Chepchumba had been dropped home by her father and brother, and she was not seen leaving her house until she was found dead. None was charged over the death, and it went into a public inquest where her father, Hosea Kili, said Mr. Otieno had been extorting Miss Chepchumba and had left her with a mountain of debts. Mr. Otieno, in his testimony, claimed that the father had sexually abused her and that he was not his biological parent. Louise Otieno had been told that she was a victim of sexual abuse by a person she thought was her biological father. She intimated to him that she lived a difficult life with her parents, especially that she was not living with her biological father. She allegedly performed duties that were supposed to be done by her mother. A pathologist told the court that there was evidence of sexual intercourse before she died. However, Mr. Louis Otieno denied having any sexual relationships or any sexual relations with her. Mr. Otieno also denied killing Miss Careen and maintained that they were friends. The inquest found that since there was no eyewitness, forensic evidence was sure key to unlock criminal culpability to some known person or persons. The inquest also recommended that samples of Mr. Otieno's fingernails be taken in the presence of the head of the government chemist. But while pointing out that police bungled the investigation, the magistrate wondered how the nail clippings police took from Mr. Otieno turned out to be Careen's during analysis by experts at the government chemist. While giving his evidence, Mr. Kili, Careen's father, accused Mr. Otieno of extorting money from his daughter, leaving her with a mountain of debts. However, Mr. Otieno denied the extortion claims. Mr. Kili further claimed Careen resorted to stealing his money from their house, which she then gave to Mr. Otieno. Careen moved to a house next to his parents, where she continued to steal money in order to pay Mr. Otieno's rent, upkeep, and hospital bills. They say that Louis Otieno and their daughter were indeed in a relationship. Careen's family members and friends revealed that she had borrowed money from them, and also she had used 1.2 million shillings meant for a business venture to finance Mr. Otieno's lifestyle. Mr. Kili claimed his daughter was found dead a day after she had revealed to the family that Otieno had been blackmailing her. With the murder case lacking, Louis Otieno's glorious past is exactly that past. It could be said that it began as a falling out with the KTN editors and crew as Otieno became arrogant, egoistic, and short-tempered, but his fall became more precipitous once the scandal and the murder of Careen Chepchumba broke. In 2014, Otieno was admitted to the hospital with pancreatic disease, likely as a result of alcohol abuse. He subsequently lost his hearing, a rare complication of pancreatitis, as well as suffering a loss of balance and difficult in walking ataxia. The medical details are complex, and Otieno funded enough money for a cochlear implant in the year. The surgery was performed in Nairobi in 2018 and appears to have been successful. Otieno's deafness had been a major cause of his depression. Otieno, who had been adversely mentioned in the probe, however, was set free since he was in Magadi at the time of Careen Chepchumba's death. Mr. Otieno also denied receiving money from Careen, saying that he was gainfully employed as a consultant and had medical insurance. At the height of his career, the TV personality, famed for his bare-knuckled TV interviews, lived large and drove posh cars, wore designer suits, and lived in a swanky apartment. So, how did Careen Chepchumba die? Some of the major unanswered questions are as follows. What about the 2 wine glasses in Careen's kitchen sink? Glass is a gold mine for fingerprints, and there might have been DNA as well. Number 2, a friend of Careen said Luis Otieno often sneaked into Careen's Santonia Court apartment. A guard at Careen's apartment confirmed that Careen had given Luis Otieno unrestricted access to her. So did Otieno pay a visit that night or not? Number 3, Otieno's nail clippings were not tested for DNA. It turned out that the clippings obtained were Careen's and not Otieno's. Why were Otieno's nail clippings not tested? May Careen Chepchumba find justice, and may she continue resting in peace. I have been your host, Lily's Rams. See you on the next video. Please comment down below and tell me how you think about this video.